So this is a quick recipe that you can make. It will work for tortillas and also for sopapillas. So you're going to start with 4 cups of flour, and then you want to have, it's going to be 2 teaspoons of baking powder. So we got 1 and 2. And then it's going to be 1 teaspoon of salt. I use kosher. It does make it a little salty, but I like that flavor. You could use regular salt. And now the trick here, this is something that one of my aunts taught me. And she uses mayo. Yes, mayo. So before you add the mayo, what you're going to do is take a fork and mix everything to make sure your baking soda and salt is completely mixed into your flour. This is also going to break up in clumps. You want to make sure that there's no clumps, and that when you do add your mayo, what's going to happen is it's going to mix perfectly, and you're not going to have some spots that have a chunk of baking powder and some spots that don't. So you want to make sure it's completely mixed up. And when you add your mayo, you're going to add 5 tablespoons of mayo. And then you are going to mix it in the same way. So you're going to make sure that it all gets mixed in perfectly with the flour. So we're going to go for 5. I'm going to add the mayo and I will be right back. Okay, so we have 5 tablespoons of mayo that was added in. And what you're going to do is just kind of take your fork and you're going to work it through completely. And you're going to keep working it until you see no more clumps and it looks just like flour. And after you finish this, you're going to add in slowly 1.5 cups of warm water. I've set aside 2 cups of warm water because sometimes you may need a little more, but you don't want it to be too sticky. So you're gonna create a dough. Now, if you notice, the mayo is mixed in, but it still looks just like flour. That's what you want. You don't want it to look like there's mayo stuck inside of there. Now you're gonna add in slowly your 1.5 cups of water. And you're going to mix it, and you're going to keep mixing it, and you want to use your hands until you create a dough. So I'll show you the finished product of the dough. Once you've formed a dough, you're going to cover it with saran wrap, and you're going to let it sit for at least 15 minutes. I prefer an hour. The longer I let it sit, I notice it's easier to roll, and it's also easier to get that fluffy consistency that you like. Now this is the dough. I did end up using the full 2 cups. Yesterday I made some and I only used 1.5 cups. But it's covered with saran wrap. It's just going to set aside. I've set it there last night for a few hours because I went to church. So you could set it on the counter for a little longer if you need. But I will show you the finished product, and I will also show you how to fry it and how to cook it on a griddle. So this is the finished product. It's going to be a little thicker than a regular tortilla, a little bit more flaky, and it's got a slightly different texture. Now, if you wanted to do a regular tortilla, you could substitute the mayo. So the mayo is something we use to make the sopapillas super flaky and super rich. To substitute, you could use oil, and this makes it a vegan or vegetarian option. So you want to roll out your tortillas on a flour dusted countertop. Once you've rolled them out, you put them on the griddle for about a minute on each side. And then you could do it a little bit longer if you like. You want it to look a little bit brown like that. And then for my specialty, typically they would be done like that. For Christmas, I got a little bit of olive oil, parsley, and fresh chopped garlic and butter all mixed together. And it's gonna go right on top. So there is our Christmas tortilla.